Good afternoon. This is Veterans Talk. It ain't nothing but a thing, but it's a thing we want you tuned into every Saturday afternoon. I'm Elsa McGee, your host, and I'm here doing the same thing I've been trying to do ever since we started the show. Make sense out of a sensitive situation called the plight of veterans in the USA, and the USA with the plight of veterans. This week, I'm here by myself on stage with Jess Report, talking about some of the things that I want you to know in the community that's going on right now. Veterans Helping Veterans down in Clayton County had a program this morning, and we're just veterans getting out, trying to mix with the community. Lamar Johnson in Clayton, in Clayton, Georgia, is doing some stuff out there. We want to just holler out to all these veterans that's doing activities in the community, trying to get the community to understand one thing. Listen, only less than 1% of the population in this country ever served in the U.S. military. And that service is a little bit more than just thank you for your service. We have veterans in VA hospitals across the country dying right now from service-related illnesses. Understanding that the VA hospital is overwhelmed and understaffed. I mean, just, you got too many veterans and not enough staff at the VAs across country to service these veterans, to service us properly. We got to do something about that. While we are trying to get the community behind us, we got to get together as veterans, as veteran organizations all over the state of Georgia to make sure that we are getting the benefits that we earn from our honorable military service. And that will make a difference with your life, in your family, and your community. These benefits are just like they were when I first started talking about benefits in 1975. The population of veterans just have grown. The benefits are the same. The VA has tweaked the system, but not made it better to work for veterans. Right now, the PAC Act and Camp Lejeune is consuming the media, so people think that, well, the VA is really overworking, trying to make sure that the veterans that are injured under the PAC Act and the Camp Lejeune contaminated water are getting the benefits. Well, let me tell you something, folks. The Camp Lejeune ain't paying off nothing yet. That we know they're not paying off veterans for the PAC Act, for the Camp Lejeune contaminated water. What they are doing is lining up cases for it to go back through the Navy and through the Department of Defense to approve. I don't understand the process because it's so encumbersome, and they done spent years after they done legislated trying to see how they're going to distribute the tort claim money. And they're taking claims. They're taking claims for the disabilities. But what is happening with the claims? Those of us that have been at the 100% level, for especially Marines and that been at the 100% level for a while, the only thing you're going to get out of that is what they call a combined rating. You ain't getting no more money. That's just the bottom line. In spite of what a lot of people thinking about what the PAC Act is doing, it is servicing those veterans that should have been 100% way before now, that coming late. That's coming late. We don't know how many Marines have died since that act has been passed by the legislation. We don't know how many veterans have died since they passed the PAC Act, especially with those veterans that served at locations that were not recognized in the PAC Act. And there were several locations, including our own Fort Gordon, Georgia. Believe me, check the data. Go on the internet right now and Google Agent Orange at Fort Gordon. If it was there, why aren't the veterans that suffering from the ailments that they say are presumptives are getting paid? Because they don't recognize the location. 1% of the population, one of the smallest minorities in the country, with the largest healthcare system that's overwhelmed right now, and Vietnam veterans, which is my generation, are dying at a rate that's unbelievable because of their exposure to Agent Orange and other toxics during service. The Marines that drank the water, contaminated water at Camp Lejeune, they're slowing up with the benefits. It's just so much that we need to talk about in terms of the plight of veterans, and how do we correct that? How do we get the community and the governments really behind us to make a difference? Well, Tony is not here, but let me say this. Tony and I have been lobbying Fulton County, and I want to shout out to Marvin Arrington Jr. especially, and all of the commissioners. Well, some of the commissioners, most of the commissioners, we'll say, that have worked with a veteran service program in Fulton County for the last 2 years, and we'll be going into 3 years soon. These benefits in the community right now, they're supposed to help homelessness, but we can't find out where they're at. We need those vendors that getting the money to address the issue of homelessness, to let the homeless veterans know where they're at, especially on the west side. Cleveland Avenue, MLK. We need the benefits that we earn from our service. And the only way we're going to get them is that we start groups and town hall meetings, which we are starting, veterans all across the country, organizing, coming together to make sure that when we go to the ballot box in November, this year, 2023, especially with some of these state level governments, local governments, that's where the money is, that's where the benefits are, other than the VA. Your State Department of Veteran Services is supposed to be helping you get your benefits, helping you get benefits from the state that you don't even know about because, well, the state is set up with offices all across the state, but they are undermanned and the staff is underpaid. So they are underserving the population. Wake up, folks. We got benefits that are not being gotten to the veteran. I'm saying this right now. If every veteran got the benefits that are due him or her, there would not be any homeless veterans in this country. Any given day in this country, there are over 250,000 veterans homeless in the streets after serving in the U.S. military. We should be ashamed of that when the promise is that if you are injured or incur a disease while you're serving, they're supposed to take care of you and your family. But, look at the veterans that's waiting in line at the VA right now for services. Why are they waiting in line? Why Vietnam veterans are still seeking benefits? It should have had benefits years ago. We should be out of the way of the younger generation that need benefits now. Some of the guys that are coming back home now that have served in the later wars, they're not getting their benefits either. And the suicide rate is too much to talk about. Every time we try to talk about it, we get a lot of empathy, but no work. Now on Monday, September the 11th, this coming Monday, downtown Frontline Community Services having a symposium on suicide, veteran suicide. What they're going to be doing is providing information and assistance from 10 o'clock to 12 noon downtown on Copeland Avenue. If you have any problems finding it, in the church on Copeland Avenue. If you can't find it, you can give me a call at 678-887-2650 so that you can come down and get some of this help that's due. Now, you don't necessarily have to be the veteran. You can be a member of a veteran family that that's having mental problems in the community that's not getting the help that they deserve. And let me say this. A lot of people get confused about military service, believing that you had to go to war in order to incur a mental disability. Well, I think we've had some veterans on this show that speak loudly to that not being the case. We have PTSD, MST at every military base in this country. I'm talking about, we have people on the show that talk about this and that share this, And we need to start listening to this, because if we don't, we are losing benefits at the $1 billion level for our communities every day. Every day we're losing benefits. And some of the benefits, what we're losing should have been distributed to veterans a long time ago. The PAC Act has really made it easier for some veterans to get benefits, but they are not covering all of the veterans that been exposed to Agent Orange. Not covering them all, because there are over 20-some bases in this country that's contaminated with Agent Orange. There are some airplanes that the Air Force is still using that's contaminated. So we need to make sure that the veterans know what has happened to them, and their families need to know. Because when you go into the claim process, you're sitting up there with somebody that has did an examination on you 1 hour, and they're going to determine whether you are disabled and unable to take care of yourself and your family. They need to talk with the family. They need to talk with people in your community. They need to interview those people in your community before they make a decision denying your benefits, because they don't see that your level of disability warrants anything. And we know what that means. We know that what that means that poor veterans, especially veterans in the cities, are not getting the benefits. They're not getting the benefits. And what has happened over the years, or within the last 2 years, VA has gone online. I mean, really online. The system is automated now. You can get a claim through the system within 6 months. Within 6 months. Now, you should take 2 or 3 years. You can get it through within 6 months. But that's not serving the whole population. You still got a backlog of cases that the VA, over 100,000 veterans are still waiting on claims, and they've been waiting on them for months, some of them for years, because of the system that they have at the VA right now that's undermanned. I don't want to take nothing from the employees out there that's doing a good work, but there's not enough of them. And some of them out there are making mistakes, and the system is covering for them, and the veterans and their families are suffering. So this is Veteran Talk. You can call in and talk with me if you want to. You can call in and raise another issue other than just the plight of veterans at 470-251-4343, and let's talk. But at the same time, I want to tell you about a couple of options that we have in our chapter, which is chapter 1118. Been in Atlanta for over 20 years. We've been serving veterans in Atlanta over 2 years. We got some community service options open now. We need volunteers. We need volunteers to help us with the Sons of Atlanta Vietnam War Memorial, which is going to be erected in Atlanta Historic Piedmont Park next year. Next year, we will have a memorial in Piedmont Park that honor the over 240 young men that were from Fulton County, Georgia, killed in Vietnam. They killed in the Vietnam War, or killed in the U.S. military during the Vietnam War. Now, why would we want to extend the memorial to that? Well, the truth of the matter is that the racism that we see rising up in our community now has always been there. It's just been underground. And the way that it came out during the years of Vietnam, well, in 1954 was the last year of the segregated military. They deactivated the last so-called colored unit in 1954. That means that the Vietnam era veterans served in a integrated military. And believe me, it wasn't an easy service. But with what happened in that service, we established bonds across racial and ethnic lines, so that some of us, white, black, Native Americans, Asians, Hispanics, became brothers for life. We got past the color of our skin and realized that we are all one, and we are all in the same situation in war. You don't really care what the color of the skin of the person that got your back. What we need now is for veterans and the community to come together and change some of the laws that we got in this country. Get people in the office that's going to enforce these laws in the VA and outside the VA. because our veterans are affected all across society. We might be the smallest population, but we are in every community. And some veterans' mental disabilities are so severe, we got 17 to 22 committing suicide every day. We got over 200,000, over 250,000 in any given day homeless. Do you think that somebody can serve in the U.S. military and just come out and be homeless? Something is wrong with that. The VA got several programs. A veteran can get a house without any money down. You got to pay all the closing costs and that. And you can do that anytime. I just bought a house at 76 years old under the VA system with no money down. So why do we have homeless veterans? Because of the mental problems that they incurred from their military service. So they are not stable enough to get the benefits or to pursue and seek the benefits that's there for them. And this is a community issue because we are a part of the community. Before we went into the military and after we came back into the community, we've always been a part of the community that, you know, we're kind of fascinated. They like the uniform, but they don't understand what the uniform does every day for this country. All throughout the world, not just in this country, all throughout the world, we have young people right now. And I want to just shout out to my grandson, Sergeant Freeman Harris, serving now 6 years in the U.S. military. So I want to just say and be an encouragement to young people that's still serving. Keep on doing what you're doing in spite of Congress, in spite of those people in Congress that don't appreciate your service and want to cut your benefits, want to cut your pay, or not give you the pay that you need in order to live above poverty in this society. So we got to do some things different this year with our vote. We got to start voting for people that are going to keep the oath of office the same way we kept our oath of service. We got too many people in Congress and state houses and county governments and city governments that really just ignore the fact that we have made this service, they have given this service and incurred disabilities as a result of the service. They don't want to keep their promise. They don't want to keep the solemn promise that our governments will take care of us and our families. It's written in law, but in practice, just look at the claim process. See how many DICs. It's really disgraceful when a veteran dies and leave his wife or kids, and it takes them sometimes years to get his benefits. It's a shame because when the veteran dies, that means the household income has, in some cases, completely got cut off, the income. So why do we let this happen? Why does it keep happening over and over and over and over again? It's because veterans are too laid back. And we have allowed the racists and dictators to separate us from each other in our communities. And our communities are separated. And as a result, we got gun violence, our kids being killed in school. The schools are not being able to teach a holistic view of America. You know, every group, every color in this country have a history. And I'm going to say a very positive history of contribution to the democracy and to the country that we have now, which is one of the richest, most powerful countries on planet Earth. And we shouldn't have homeless people in the street. We don't need to. Why I'm saying we don't need to? Right now, the city of Atlanta, Fulton County, got more empty buildings with the lights on and the water running than they do have people sleeping on the street. So why can't we use these government facilities to get our people off the street? We got enough colleges in the city of Atlanta and Fulton County to provide counseling, case management, you know, and we got enough hospitals to help do health care. Why are we so separated in the community that the governments that we set up, we the people, is not actually representing all the people? Let me give you for an example in Congress right now. The U.S. military promotion system is being held up by one senator out of Alabama because he wants to impose his political views on the military. Views that says that, well, they're not going to fund the military, they're not going to fund promotions unless they take away the money that's being provided for ladies in the military that might want an abortion and want to travel to outside of the military to get the abortion. Now, I'm anti-abortion myself. I'm gonna just tell you straight up. I'm not for abortion, but I believe this: I don't have a right, and the government don't have a right to tell a woman what to do with her body. That's between her and the God that she believes in, you know. But at the same time, now, if that's a policy of providing medical care for women, and it's been a policy for the last 50 years, why do we want to take it away now? That's not going to stop them from having abortions. It's going to go back to where they used to be, where more people are dying, more women are dying because they don't have the health care that they need when they are aborting a fetus. So we need to look at what we are supposed to be doing as a country, and as a country of laws. We're looking at a situation right now where the media is saturated with stuff about number 45 and the crimes that he's committed. You know, well, you know, he committed a crime. He needs to be treated just like the rest of us when he's has committed a crime. Everybody needs to be under the law in this country. And when you're under the law, that means you're under the constitutional directions. The 14th Amendment, third division, says that anybody that have aided and abetted or encouraged or aided insurrection is not eligible to hold any elected office in this country. So what we need to do, since the politicians and the government people that we got elected now won't enforce the law, we need to go to the poll and enforce it. We can enforce it with our vote. We can vote to people that gonna keep the Constitution, gonna honor the Constitution, and keep that oath of office. Not be ruled by some political party. Excuse me. I'm a strong believer in the two-party system, but I'm not a Democrat and I'm not a Republican. I'm an independent. I want to vote for the person that I believe is going to represent the best interests of the community, and not cause division in the community by saying, well, you got a certain part of the community that you're going to represent and you're going to demonize the rest of us. No, we don't need those kind of people in our government, because it is we the people. Our government, the U.S. government, belongs to the U.S. people. So we got to start looking at how we vote. How we vote this year might be determining whether we ever get the right to vote again. Because we're looking at how states have gerrymandered and suppressed voting. Now, why would we want to do that? Because we are moving toward the more perfect union that a lot of people don't want us to move toward. They don't want to serve equal opportunities. They don't want to enforce the laws equally for everybody. And more likely, when I wrote my book in 2011, Shock Change, Memoirs of an American Combat Veteran, what I was talking about and what I was trying to educate the community about is the nature of service that we incur, that we serve in. I served in the Vietnam War. I was in infantry in the Vietnam War. I was wounded in the Vietnam War. I was exposed to Agent Orange in the Vietnam War. It's still and rendered disabled during the Vietnam War. It took me 40 years to reach the level of 100%. 16 years before I even got any benefits, any recognition that I had a disability. And who suffered from that? Me, the veteran, my family, and my community. Because I could have been doing a good service in my community the 20 years that I was stumbling, and with my disability. The disability of PTSD is a bad behavior disability, and what they used during my time, my time in coming back from it, they criminalized it. They was locking up veterans throughout this country for PTSD disabilities, and they wasn't even recognized in the court. It took a while, until 1980, for Vietnam era veterans to get the laws changed in this country to recognize PTSD. Now today, it's the most recognized disability in the country, period. They know now that children are getting PTSD. Why are they getting PTSD? Because of the violence in the community that they are subject to, they are witnesses of, they are traumatized by. We need to make sure that they either get the violence out of the community or give them some treatment, because if you don't give them treatment, it's a bad behavior disability. They're going to do bad things in the community, and the community shouldn't wait for that to happen. They should be proactive to make sure these schools are providing psychological counseling for these children where shootings are going on, and they should be providing the first day after the shooting. But they should be providing anyway, because the violence is not just in the schools, it's in the community where these children live. And I'm talking about in the community where babies are being killed by gun violence. We need to make sure that we understand this is our country. This is our country, all of us. And we need to come together and stop letting people divide us for their own means. 2% of the population controlling 90%, 95% of the wealth. That means the rest of us are under their control, under their manipulation. So they manipulate us in ways where you got people working every day, 40 hours a week in Atlanta, Georgia right now, that don't make enough money or income to pay rent, to do child care, they have health insurance. We got to do better in the ATL. Really, we got to do better, because we are better than what we are doing. And this is veterans talking to veterans. We got some other things I want to talk about now. I'm get off of that for a minute. We got some community service options for anybody that got to do community service, whether it's from a cold order community service, or whether it's from school, or whether it's from work. Give me a call at 678-887-2650, and you will be helping us do the memorial. You'll be helping us do some claim setup, do some investigation. And we also have this other project, which is the employee credit, employee retention credit. This is a program that was established during the COVID, and for small businesses. Any business that was in business in 2020 that has 5 or more W-2 workers, they can get up to $10,000 per worker. Well, even if they're gone out of business, they can still get that money. So you give us a call, because we are Veterans in Service to the USA. That's our program, Veterans in Service to the USA. And we work with bottom line concepts. And what they do, they take your case and they get you that money without any cost, out-of-pocket cost to you, no out-of-pocket cost to you. And every time you work with Veterans in Service to the USA, that commission come to us to help us fight homelessness and help us provide the other programs that we provide in Atlanta every day. So we are working, and we need the community help. We got donation options. You can donate household goods, furniture, appliances, motorbikes, vehicles, cars, trucks, etc., electronics, building materials, and real estate. And it's a tax write-off. Anytime you make a donation to our chapter, we're a nonprofit, you're going to get a tax write-off. Now, we've been looking at the Sons of Atlanta. I want to talk to you about that, because we're putting out an update because of what the city has just done. Agreed to fund the whole project. So what we are doing, we need volunteers to help us complete the groundbreaking part of it, and the dedication. The dedication will be sometime next year. We don't know whether to be ready for Memorial Day or whether to be ready for Veterans Day. We'll keep you updated on that, because it has to go through a procurement process. If you got any questions about that, a procurement process, and you can call City Councilman Michael J. Barnes. He is our point man for this project. But we want you to look at the website. Go to the website. It's www.sonsofatlanta.org, and look at the pictures. Look at the pictures on the website. Most of these young men that were killed in Vietnam War didn't live to be 21 years old. Now, the sad part about that is that during the Vietnam War, you had to be 21 before you could vote. So we went to Vietnam before we could even vote. Over 58,000 young men died in Vietnam, and some of them couldn't even vote. That's a tragedy. They changed the voting age now to 18. But you got people in Congress now want to raise the voting age up to 24 again. They want to raise the voting age so they can cut down on how people vote. Don't let it happen. All we got to do is go to the poll, vote those people out that's trying to undermine the government and the democracy that we have in this country. We don't need them in our government, and we got the right to vote. You know, if we stop voting for a party and start voting for our democracy, then we're going to have a better country. Because these parties right now done raised to the level where they don't care what kind of corrupt person is running in the government or in our governments. And we don't need that, because it's undermining what we're supposed to be having as a democracy for the people in this country. The other project that we do on a daily basis is called the Claim Clinic. Now, the Claim Clinic is where we actually help veterans and surviving dependents file their claims to get the benefits that's due them. Now, as I said earlier, that is a cumbersome process. You got more claims than you got claim workers, so it takes up to a year now to get a claim through. In some cases, even though the systems say they can do it within 6 months, it's taking longer because they don't have the staff there. And some of the staff working at VA right now look into the 90 claims rather than just approve them based on the evidence of record. And they will state stuff in a rating decision that's not really consistent with the record itself. So that means that you got to go up to the appeals Board of Veteran Appeals, which is the first level of appeal out of the regional office. Now, in the regional office, you got several levels of appeal that you can access before you go up to the Board of Veteran Appeals. And if you go up to the Board of Veteran Appeals and on when you can go into the Code of Veteran Appeals for claims. If you don't win there, you can go into the Federal Circuit. And then after that, you can go into the Supreme Court. 50% of the claims that are denied by the regional office, VA, here in Atlanta, are overturned on appeal. Now, that's sad, 50%, and probably more, but at least 50% of the claims that are denied on the regional level, which is the first level of seeking benefits, are overturned if you're denied. Don't be frustrated with the decision you get. And sometimes when they grant you a decision, they underrate you. And then, in other words, you might be due 100%, they're going to give you 80% to keep from paying you at that 100% level. Look in the rating system. We look in the rating system, look in the rating decisions, and we look at the errors, and we work the claims, and they overturn them on appeal if we don't get them on the first level. So don't hesitate to file your claim. If you need help filing a claim, call me at 678-887-2650, and we'll help you prepare and file a winning claim. Now, believe this, you just don't file a claim just because you want to file it. There's certain things you have to do to prepare your claim in a way that the VA can grant your benefits. So that's what we do with the Veteran Claim Clinic. And recently, since COVID, we do it online. You know, you can get online with our clinic, and I'm saying within 3 months, we have your case ready to file. And then within 6 months, you got your benefits. What do your benefits get? They get you a compensation. Compensation. They mean a check every month in the mail in your bank account to cover your rent. They cover your rent and give you food they give you money for food, give you money for clothing, give you money for anything that you need because you're not able to work. And there are 2 levels of benefits at the VA. A lot of people don't realize this. There are the non-service connected. That's pension. A pension is for any veteran that becomes disabled, not by military service, that don't have an income, that don't have a household income, an income, a personal income more than $1,300 a month. Now that's kind of sad, but it nevertheless is something. And that will go to any veteran that becomes disabled, no matter what. Then you got compensation, which is service-connected disabilities. That disability is only available to people that disability either started in the military or came as a result of something that happened to them in the military. Let me explain that. If you're in the military and you get sick with hypertension, diabetes, that becomes a disability. If you're out of the military and you get sick with, let's say, prostate cancer, you look at what caused that prostate cancer. Agent Orange, the VA has recognized that Agent Orange caused prostate cancer. So you would go in there and file a claim for service-connected disability, which is about 3 times more than the pension. It's 3 times more than the pension. So we want you to, look at Veterans Talk, because we are here every Saturday afternoon doing the same thing that we're doing right now, trying to give you information, which is knowledge, information and knowledge, which is power to change. It gives you the power to change. So if you know of a veteran in your community that's having disability problems, the disability means he's unable to work and keep a job, unable to work and keep a job, call us. We'll help him get a disability so that he can take care of himself and his family in a way that they don't become homeless. And that's what's going on in Atlanta. A lot of the veterans that are homeless are disabled and overlooked. It's bad to be disabled, but to be disabled and overlooked is to me, is a crime. Especially when the law says that they should be taken care of. They will be taken care of by the government, by the federal government. So today we're at another point that we're going to look at. Now, school is back in. School is really back. My great-grandchildren are going to school, and we got all kind of drama going on in the schools all over, where they're banning books. They got issues with the teaching history of American history. When I say American history, that means history of all the people that's in America. Whatever color they are, all the history should be taught. But it should be taught in a way that it's educational, not hateful. And history don't generate hate. It might generate sadness if it's communicated right. It might generate a change in behavior if it's communicated right. But if you don't communicate history of all the people, then that kind of leaves a lot of people in lack. And what causes lack? Mental illnesses and crime. Mental illness and crime. We got to believe that. If you don't take my word for it, ask psychology, ask psychiatry. We are looking at issues in our community that we can actually address if we start discussing them, if we start talking about them. That's why we're here every Saturday trying to talk about the plight of veterans, because the plight of veterans is a community problem. It's a community problem. So again, we want to urge you to call Frontline Community Service. They're having a program Monday to prevent veteran suicide downtown on Coleman, at the church on Coleman, at 10 o'clock in the morning from 10 to 12. They're going to have help there for individuals. So if you got a loved one that you know that's been in the military is having problems, we don't care whether he got a good discharge or a bad discharge, because we talk about that. PTSD and adjustment disorder are bad behavior disabilities. So that means that they behave badly and they got a bad discharge. So that means that they're not really eligible for benefits on the first run. We have to make sure that we can connect that disability with that service. And we can do it. It can be done. It takes a little work, and a lot of time because you don't have your military records, and the fire wiped out the whole block of military records between the Vietnam era and Korea. A whole block of them. So if they don't have your records because it was destroyed in fire, We can do reconstructive records. We can do reconstructive services. You might not be able to get enough information depending on what era you're in. But because the younger veterans, we can help them better because the people that they serve with are still alive. And my generation, you might not be able to get a buddy letter, because your buddy might not be around anymore. But in the younger generation, where you still got somebody serving that served with you in the military, and they can do what they call a buddy letter to help you get benefits. So don't give up. Don't be discouraged by misinformation and the lack of information. You got a lot of misinformation going at the VA because you got these employees that they just hired because they couldn't get nobody else in there. They just went there for the job. They don't have any sense of service to the veterans at all. So they might give you some bad information or just some discouraging information when you go to the VA. So we want to try to help you around those kind of issues at VA because you got a lot of good people working at VA. Then you got a lot of bad people. They said one apple spoiled the whole barrel. And that's what's happening in a lot of cases. You got people out there that have called veterans' claims to be messed up because they would call into bad information, or they are buying into bad information, and they take that bias into the claim process, which we can stop in most cases if we work together and make sure that the VA appeal process is well informed. Because most of the cases go up to appeal. If they prepared right with the right information, you're gonna win. So this is Veteran Talk again. Here every Saturday. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, share the show with your neighbors, with your friends, because we are here for the community. Our whole effort, our whole sacrifice is for the community. We want to make sure that we get the governments that we deserve in this country, because what we've seen over the last few years is stagnation in our governments that don't make sense. And we don't need government shutdowns for the government to function. We need politicians that we elected that go into government service that's going to work together, all of them, no matter what color they is, no matter what party they come from. They're not going in there and getting such debates about what one want, the other don't want, until they just don't do nothing. We're not electing people to run that kind of government. It's costly, not just for the government, it's also costly for the people that they're supposed to be serving. Just imagine this, veteran. I'm going to tell you a little secret that you need to know. All of our benefits come from the federal government. If they have a shutdown, we don't get paid. We don't get no income from the government if they shut down. What does that do for your household? It crushes it. So we got to understand what we're dealing with. We need to vote. We need to make sure that we're voting for people that's going to run the government in a way that is there for all the people, not just some of them, not what they believe they want. They don't want to fund some certain activities. Now, the war in Ukraine, how are we looking at that? Well, we look at all wars as unwanted, and undesired wars shouldn't last long. But they're lasting longer because Eisenhower put it like this: beware of the military-industrial complex. Big guns cost a lot of money. Houses cost a lot of money. Jet planes cost a lot of money. Helicopters cost a lot of money. They can't get sold unless they have walls. I want you to hear what I'm saying, because we're the citizens. We're the people that vote these people in office that cause walls. They cause walls. I think the war in Ukraine is just like any other war. It's undesirable. But some wars must be fought. They must be fought. Because if you don't, you got tyrants and dictators running your life, which tyrants and dictators are usually billionaires, who want to have their own way. They got their money, they can manipulate any kind of way they want to manipulate. But a good example right now is number 45, manipulating the government so much that he making us feel like the governments that we have are not sufficient. You want to make us feel like the government that we have right now today is insufficient, because if he's reelected, he's going to suspend the Constitution. He's going to change the government. He's going to make it hard for us to complain. Matter of fact, if you don't agree with him, you might disappear. You might get on an airplane and it blow up. The way that this guy in Russia, that disagreed with Putin. A month later, he was dead. He was, just sitting there, somebody put the explosives on the plane that he was going to kill everybody on the plane. That's what dictators do. That's what people that don't want the people to have the government control over the government act. But we have the power. We got the vote, and what Dr. King showed us is non-cooperation. We don't have to cooperate with big companies that don't want to pay a livable wage. We just stop spending our money with them. Simple. Just don't spend no money with them. You ain't got to cuss and holler and scream and get mad with them. Just don't spend your money with them. I guarantee you, they'll start trying to find a better way to treat you, a better way to respect you. But we got this thing with us in this country. We have so much until we feel like we are entitled to it all. And that's why we're killing each other in our community like a war zone over stuff that is not even good for the community. We got too many killings in Atlanta, unnecessary killings. Every day. When I was growing up in Atlanta, you might not have a killing. If you got a killing a month, that was something rare. But now you got killings every day, sometimes 2 and 3 killings in the community, because they done flooded our communities with guns, knowing that we got a lot of mental problems, we got a lot of anger problems, we got a lot of ignorance problems. And we are being influenced with the music and the entertainment to do violence. You feel like somebody done took advantage of you, you go throw down on them. Come on, folks. We done got way away from what the principles that I grew up on. What is, love that neighbor as thyself. Treat people like you want to be treated. That was a simple recipe with no violence in the community. But now we all entitled. We have road rage because one person don't think you driving fast enough, or they turning it's too slow. We got to recognize that we got a lot of mental illness that's been caused by toxics in the community that we are exposed to. Toxic called mental illness. Look at the Campbell Jones crew. Behavioral effect is a PTSD that come on by in drinking that water. They call it behavioral effect, but it's the same symptoms that you have from PTSD. Same symptoms. But, that was taken off the presumptive list. It was on the presumptive list earlier, and then because they realized that, we're going to move this out of the way because there's too much of it. But the stuff that they was drinking, they didn't know it. The Marines didn't have no idea that they was drinking water that would be killing them later on or making them have mental problems where they couldn't function in a normal, law-abiding society. So we got to start looking at what we're up against this year, understanding that we have the power as a people to take our country back from this buffoonery that is in now, to make our communities safe, make our schools safe, make our shopping centers safe, our grocery stores, our churches. We had it like that one time. We didn't have to worry about our children going to school and somebody going in there with automatic weapons in the 60s. Somebody going in the school with automatic weapons. Somebody going to churches with automatic weapons. Somebody going to the grocery store with automatic weapons. Somebody just walking down the street with an automatic weapon just shooting because of the mental illness and the stagnation of government by toxic political indifferences. It has become so toxic now that the GOP is saying that they will elect a president, even if he's convicted of a crime. Now, if you're convicted of a crime, you can't even vote in some states until you're fully off of that, finish that sentence. Now, how can somebody be elected to presidency and see, that's hypocrisy. What that is hypocrisy and hate. And what people are turning to right now, those kind of differences in our government and what we're supposed to be doing is impacting people more with mental problems than any other segment of the society. And some of these politicians know that they're provoking these people to do dastardly, wretched things to their neighbors and in their communities. We don't need these kind of people in government at all. We don't need that. We don't have to have it. We got to believe that the vote, that I can take my time. I don't care if they move the voting box 10 miles and I got to walk. I'm going to go vote. And believe me, most of the poll workers, they're going to make sure that their vote is counted right. See, we shouldn't demonize poll workers. We shouldn't have them threatened by mental patients that, that's biting off the toxic politics that's being spread in this country today. And I'm going to say mostly by Republicans. Or what? Then I don't think they're no real Republicans, because I don't vote for Republicans. But I voted for the first George Bush. You know why? Because he was a veteran, and he had this country at heart. He showed that he had this country at heart because he went in the service. He went in the military service for this country. So I voted for him. And I have voted for John McCain. Why? He went in the service for this country. I didn't vote for him when he ran against Barack because I felt Barack was a better candidate, not just because he was black, but he had a better platform for the people. And that's what we got to do when we go to the poll. We got to look at what this individual is saying he's going to do for the community of people. Not for, I have a problem with homosexuality because I'm a Christian. I don't believe that, but I believe this. Hate the sin, but love the sinner. We cannot discriminate against somebody because of homosexuality. And that's what we allow people to make us do. To discriminate against our children, our neighbors, because they got a problem that we morally don't think is right. Well, that's between them and God. Unless you want to get in the behavior yourself, you need to try to make sure that they understand, I can deal with you as a person, but your behavior is unacceptable when it comes to sexuality. And just talk to them and treat them like your neighbor. Want for your neighbor what you want for yourself. Treat your neighbor the way you want to be treated. We got people that against minorities, immigrants. We need immigrants. This is a country of immigrants. Everybody except my ancestors, well, some of them was immigrants. So got a lot of black people now that are immigrants. But all immigrants should be welcome. Not criminal, not people that are doing dastardly stuff, but people coming to this country to work, coming to this country to have a better life. That's what we all want. The opportunities are here for everybody. But we have allowed a small group of people to manipulate us against that common idea that democracy works. And they will stand up and try to destroy it. And I'm not talking about just Donald Trump. Donald Trump just helped us highlight it. He brought it out so we could see it. Believe me, if he go away, it's still there, so we need to keep working on it. Go to the poll and vote this November. Vote for somebody that first of all, they're going to do the government the way it's supposed to be done. You can have differences, but you got to negotiate when you go up there, when they start talking about funding the budget. We don't want no party, no individual going up there stopping the budget from being funded, stopping the government from being funded. Yeah, put your arguments up there, but when it comes down to it, once your vote is cast, it's over. You don't go out talking about the bad program. You see how the program works. They didn't want the infrastructure bill, but now everybody running around trying to take credit for the infrastructure bill. Because I see bridges and streets in Atlanta being repaired, and they need to be repaired. But you had people fighting against that, and it done created more jobs than any presidential since probably Eisenhower. Probably, I don't know whether anybody has created more jobs than Joseph Biden. They might not want to talk about that, but they might want to talk about inflation. But he's created some jobs that and that has enabled people that don't have college degrees to make more than $15 an hour. We can't overlook that. They're not going to overlook it, but we got to say we want that to continue for the whole everybody. We want everybody to be able to get these opportunities, and that is a possibility for that in America like no other country on planet Earth. I want to shout out to Miss Hall. I know she supposed to be on the show with us next week. I'm hoping that she'll be here to talk about her razor bump product. She has a product that do away with razor bumps. You know, black men have a tendency to have razor bumps around their neck, and especially ex-military type. This product actually make them disappear. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've witnessed it with my own eyes. Then I'm gonna have my niece back on here to talk about some holistic medicines, some holistic stuff. I want to bring you information that matters. I want to bring you knowledge that can change the quality of life in our community, and that's what we try to do every week. We want to thank Status Network. I know we're going to be moving into another location soon, but the great shows that we have on this on out of this studio should be watched. I watch some of them because even though I don't get a chance to be up here when they're here, but I watch the shows because this is a media for our community. We need media. We need better media than we got in the communities that just gonna show violence and entertainment that keep us sleepwalking. They keep us sleepwalking. We need to wake up, family, community, friends, supporters. We got the power to make the change that we need in our communities. We don't have to worry about our children going to school being gunned down. If we elect somebody to get these guns out of the community, and that can happen. All they got to do is change the law and get the weapons. They done did that before with stuff. We got to understand that. We are getting at the end of the show. I've been talking out nonstop, and you know, I guess that's because Tony I'm looking at me. I know he's looking, and I want to holler at Tish too. I know she been, you know, kind of laid back for a minute. Want to come on back out and help, you know, empower our community with knowledge and information. So I want you to follow us on Facebook, like us on Instagram, share the show. You know, share the show. See you next week, same time, same place.